All right, we are back, and in class number 2, we are about to hit the reading assignment, which is, if you scroll down to homework assignments, read Shay Howe, Learn to Code, all 12. So if we jump over here, we look and we've got Learn to Code, HTML and CSS, develop and style websites. And we've got 12 different sections to get through. So building your first web page, getting to know HTML, getting to know CSS, opening the box model, positioning content, working with typography, setting backgrounds and gradients, creating lists, adding media, building forms, organizing data with tables, writing your best code. And each one of these is pretty long in terms of written content. So it is a bit of an undertaking to get through all 12 of these. But what I'm going to do is pace myself. And actually, the little secret is I'm going to do a lot of the reading while I'm going through the videos of the first class, as then you don't get tired out from reading, and then you don't get tired out from just staring at a screen watching a video. So I'm going to dive into these, and then I'm going to report back one by one after each section and report my findings. What I learned, was it worthwhile? So for the first article, we're basically looking at HTML and CSS for the first time. And what this article does is gets your feet wet and gives you enough information to get up and running. So I'm going to dive in here and see what I can find out, and then I'll get back to you with what I find on the other side. All right, so I just wrapped up the first article by Shay Howe, Building Your First Web Page. And basically, it's a pretty long passage, so it does take a while to get through, and it is pretty technical if you're not familiar with HTML or CSS prior to diving into it. If you're just starting from scratch, it can be a bit thick at times for sure. They get into a lot of the technical details about selectors, tags, self-closing tags. It's a very thorough overview of HTML and CSS from scratch. So the good news is, if you are starting from scratch, this is a perfect resource for you to get a thorough overview of everything. That doesn't assume any prior knowledge, but it is, like I said, it's quite dense getting through it if you are brand new to HTML and haven't heard the concepts before. A lot of the trouble with learning these things is these foreign concepts or foreign sounding concepts that maybe you just don't know what the terminology means yet. And once you do, the concepts become quite easily. But it's just that you're not familiar with it yet. So when you're reading these things, these new terminology come up, and you have to think to yourself, what's that again? Um, so once you get over that hurdle, it is a very thorough overview, like I said, so it's a good resource to have. And one thing I would recommend, especially when tackling a large piece like this, is having a good overview of the article prior to diving in and reading it. So what I recommend is a quick scan of the whole article. So you read the headlines, any titles or headlines that are in bold, and then read the first line of each paragraph. And when things are written very well, it won't have as much fluff, and that first line tells you a lot about that paragraph. And with a good writer like Shay Howe, he keeps it very concise, and in a way that a lot of the times the first line of the paragraph gives away a majority of the information, and then the rest of the paragraph is just clarifying and putting in extra detail. So if you read through the first line of each paragraph, it'll help you get through the whole document rather quickly and give you a complete concept of what's going to be presented to you. So rather than going through, especially if you're new to this and aren't unfamiliar with the terminology, it'll allow you to have a completely encapsulated concept of HTML, CSS, and the topics that are going to be covered within the article. So having a good overview, I think, is worth its weight in gold. It allows you to create a complete picture of the topic in your mind's eye as you go through, and allows you to connect different concepts as you go through much more easily. Aside from that, it is a little bit longer, so just know that going into it and expect to put some time into it. And another feature that they do employ is mixing the technical with the practical. So they review the technical aspects and then they implement it in a practical form of building a web page for a conference. So after hearing about all these concepts and how they interrelate with each other, you see it in a practical sense of how they're used in order to build out a web page. And that practice continues on throughout the rest of the 12 sections as well. So you basically see an entire web page get built piece by piece as you cover topic by topic. So, good first module, very thorough, gives you a good foundation leading into the other modules. And like I said, just have patience, especially if you're new to this. And it's definitely a great overview of HTML and CSS to get started.